these microwave radiation signals are damaging to health. They are an attack on the environment. They are in breach of a number of laws, precautionary principle laws. This technology is here to harm. It is not 4G. 5G, in its technical parameters, is a weapon. Its weaponization is its densification. We've already got catastrophic increases in stroke, cancer rates, children with neurological disorders, babies being born dead from the exposure to the 1G, 2G, 3G and 4G. 5G in its normal operation and densification, its technical parameter means billions more. If it can be connected, it has to be connected from pill bottles, just about everything. And that's microwave radiation that will kill. So the fact that it's more, the densification, shows the intent to harm. The disregard of the scientific, the peer-reviewed, published scientific documentary evidence is a reckless crime. And it's a reckless crime being perpetrated upon us by the likes of IC and IRP. Anybody goes and looks at their website will state quite clearly on the front page, they are not responsible for the information that they put out. And the reason for that, it's because it's dishonest, it is deceptive, it is criminal. What they have actually got on their website stating that microwave radiation is safe. It is most certainly not. It's not objective at all, John. It's an absolute fabrication. These people are criminals. I call them out as criminals. They're not scientists. How can you be a scientist? They've actually had to disregard thousands upon thousands of published peer-reviewed work from eminent scientists around the world to show that this type of technology is not safe. So much so, Lloyd's of London will not insure it. In fact, 280 and near 30 or 40,000 now signatories, technical scientists, signatories to the space appeal are being ignored. They're being ignored by your government. So that what that tells you, there is an agenda. There's an agenda to cause intent and harm on citizens right across the West. They switched on 5G in California. We've seen issues over there with Paradise. They switched on the 5G just recently in South Korea, and we have seen massive city fires. Now,
one question I had on the Richie Allen show, Mark, the other day was about the wildfires. And a question came in from a caller. Were the wildfires related to 5G?
Well, he has an image here for everybody, John, and this is the part of South Korea where the 5 cities, the national emergency, where near 20,000 people had to be military personnel, fire brigade, and tens of thousands of people. This is a national emergency, which was saw very, very little of it on the internet. This is the cities. The reports were it started in a transformer. Now, how do you move from a transformer to burn 5 cities out over that distance? It is absolutely incredible. And this isn't the only damning evidence. The absolute damning evidence I will be shown at the AV10 conference. So anybody who wants to follow that, you will see incontrovertible evidence of buildings being set on fire. There's an image there of a building on fire where the woodland around it, you can see the woodland around it. It's quite plain. It's for everybody to see. The wood's not on fire, as anybody can notice that. All right. It's not the only image of buildings on fire. Here's more buildings on fire. You can see the wood in the foreground. The wood in the foreground. And on the left-hand side. So the building's on fire. And the reason why the building's on fire, microwave radiation attacks electrical equipment. It attacks electrical equipment because anything that's copper cable, any aluminium, this is where the increase in the energy, and obviously these buildings burn from the inside out. Now we saw that evidence was absolutely plain for everybody to see in Paradise, where the impacts, I mean, it was just unbelievable. Here's an image. This is Korea. Very, very similar to the images that we saw in California. Once again, look at the woodland. The woodland's not on fire, but those buildings have basically been on fire. So this is what we're talking about. And this is deception by the mainstream media. I mean, obviously they get caught out. So all the imagery in South Korea it's indicative of an EMP, right? What I mean by that, electromagnetic pulse radiation, because what people have to understand, this is basic physics. You're pouring microwave radiation into air. Consequently, if there's any ignition, you'll start to see fire. You'll see more aggressive fire. You'll see more ferocity in a fire because you're breaking down the hydrocarbons in an area. You're pulping them, you're pulse modulating frequency, energy frequency. It's actually vibration, and it causes warmth and heat within the molecular structure. It's exactly how you heat meat up in a microwave oven. So when they switch 5G on, expect to see fires. So the expectation is that we'd see this fire, and as it happens, this fire happened on exactly the same day. This national emergency in Korea happened on exactly the same day as the 5G switch on.
That's right.
Now, let's talk about the ability for people to fight back, because that's the really important thing. We need to get this out. People need to push and prod and get organized to be able to either get this indictable, basically a document that puts these people on notice, because obviously they, like a lot of people, may not know the implications of, they get a document from Public Health England that's completely dishonest. They're not to know any other. All right. The mayor of Bristol sent a Public Health England document to a lady in response to her concerns about the rollout of 5G in Bristol, which we now know is implicated in the mass suicides at the university. And the chap sent her this document. This document is so dishonest. There was no signature to it. This is Public Health England, secret scientists. Nobody puts their name to it. There's no headed document to it. It's just, this is an organization. It is a fabrication and a forgery and a lie. We do not pay public sector workers to fabricate and lie to us. These are our servants. These are not the master. People need to wake up. You don't pay tax to a criminal.
Yeah, and they're not looking at the non-thermal effects, are they? They're completely discounting the biological effects. This is a problem with ICNIRP. They're stating, okay, they're looking at the thermal effects, but they're not looking at the damage on cells.
Yeah, absolutely. Total disregard of the scientific documentary evidence. Well, that shows they're not scientists, John. A scientist's main function, absolutely, is to be able to assess all of the body of evidence in a particular subject. You can't just say, I don't like this because it's from, I don't like this scientific background because it's from 2018. Because all their science they're relying on is prior to 2010. So anything past 2010, they just totally disregard it.
That's right.
We're talking about the criminal enterprise here. We're not talking about, and this is why people would need to go on the offensive. We need to stop pussyfooting around. Stop them keep sending us a load of lies and pretend that we're going to just sit back and allow it to happen. Babies are dying. Babies are dying in the womb. People are being murdered in their homes. There are 20,000 plus people missing in paradise in the USA, being vaporized in their own homes. Very similar picture that you see there, the one in South Korea. The South Korean news, 2 people dead. Well, I mean, if they were in that home, they'll have been incinerated, so there'd be no bodies left. Is that what the plan is? To incinerate everybody so there's nothing left? So it is time to start. People need to start acting. These people are acting illegally. They're ignoring the laws and codes. They're ignoring the precautionary principle. They're ignoring the science. They're ignoring international laws and international scientists' appeals. You can't just ignore this this movement, this 5G space appeal movement. We've got some top scientists in the world.
Hundreds of scientists behind that. And then what about this thing with Theresa May lately? She's given the go-ahead for Huawei to put these antennas, that are basically, she's given the green light to Huawei to install 5G, hasn't she? Tell us a little bit more about that, Mark.
Right. Well, the thing that's really concerning about that, the really concerning thing about that's obviously the weapon system. The weapon system is basically the antenna. So if I want to weaponize microwave radiation in air, what I really have to do is actually have a particular antenna design. All right. Now, we've talked about this antenna design before. It's actually what's part of 5G. Obviously 5G is a number of different technical parameters, right? But its main technical parameters, as I said before, is densification. The densification is a kill grid fact, right? The other part of the kill grid is the antenna. And they have just posted that for you there, John. And it states in the Independent that Theresa is going to allow the Chinese, what she says is not the core part of 5G. Well, absolutely. I don't know. Well, she's not, obviously she's a politician. They're all a little bit dim.
Yeah.
Obviously, she's pretty dim in particular, because to allow a foreign country to install a weapon system on its own people is a little bit outside of the I would suggest our comfort zone. She obviously doesn't understand that the antenna design isn't, as a matter of fact, is the weapon system. And the reason why they're getting it from China, if it was developed or built in the West, I've got no doubt that it would have to be tested correctly. If they tested the antenna, the 5G antenna system correctly, then it would fail the ICNIRP guidelines, and we know how useless they are anyway, but it'll fail them. We've got the data on that, because this is a focused signal weapon. It is not for telecommunications, and that's why in this little article in the Independent is why they're stating that the antennas basically have to come from China. They have to come from a communist state where nobody's going to ask any questions. There's going to be no testing of the antenna, because if you tested the antenna, once again, it'll fail. It'll fail because of weapon. So she's going to import a weapon system from China. Well, that sounds pretty interesting to me. In fact, it sounds like treason to me. Theresa May, there's something very untoward going on. But people need to wake up and get to the councillors, get to the MPs, and get this information across to them, and get it across to them now. This technology is going to kill.
And how people contact their councillors is not just an email. They need to get onto the phone. They need to meet these councillors. They need to meet the MPs and actually meet them in person and show and, explain what's going on. 5G is a weapon. Meet with them face to face, call, whatever you can do to collect. You have the councillor surgeries, the surgeries for the MPs. People have got to do this up and down the country.
You get very important. People need to organise. This is genocide. This was a statement by Barry Trower, weapons expert. I totally agree with Barry. This is genocide, and I can see quite a few politicians who carry on with the fabrication and lie, ending up in them seats. That's Nuremberg, and they ended up in serious trouble. Those on the periphery of it, we're warning them now, step out. That document, the indictable offence document, I'm going to post it up here, John, so you can actually show it to people as well. Okay. Right? And we'll go through it. People need to, on numbers, need to start getting this out there so that we can create enough people to make sure that action is taken. I mean, it is an absolute must for people. If you want to survive this crime, here's the document here. What I'm gonna say, I'll just read it out, John.
Okay.
It basically tells you how to fill it in. It's for councillors, politicians, media, others, anybody who's misinforming and lying, like BBC, they lie about 5G all the time, head-up display systems. Absolutely. And what it says is, dear sir, I'm bringing to your attention the scientifically established fact that the rollout of 5G technology is an indictable offence under domestic and international laws and a crime against humanity and the environment. Your involvement in the deployment, deception, misinformation and cover-up in the wider community and continued support for this crime have been noted. Any further support is indictable offence provided by you once you have been informed by this letter will demonstrate your real intent in regard to this crime. Now, intent, we're talking serious, we're talking the difference between manslaughter and murder here.
Yep.
So, what was saying go on after that? To mitigate your involvement, we demand that you cease and desist from your role in the rollout of 5G so that the main architects of this criminal enterprise can be held accountable, while those who have been coerced into involvement can be seen to have acted in a far less serious role. The Accessories and Abettors Act 1863 is amended by the Criminal Law Act 1977, covers all those who can be shown to have known of this human rights crime, yet who have not acted in accordance with the law. So that's what we're about. We're about the law. And what's happened with these characters have got a total disregard for the law. And what we have to do with that, John, we have to bring them back into reality. So we've got to bring them back into reality. We've got to actually stop. I mean, the article we got from one of the charities not long ago about the trees, I mean, unbelievable, where we've got trees being chopped down all over the country. Graham sent one of them. I mean, here's a tree here. The damage to this tree is it's absolutely unbelievable. The damage to this tree. I mean, it's unbelievable is the word for what's actually going on here. But people need and must start to get organised and start to see that what we're saying here is factual and not, as been said in the past, just made up.
Yeah, and it's not just happening in Sheffield, is it? It's happening up and down the country. Here in Torbay, in Torquay, they're starting to cut down the trees. I was taking a bus through Taunton, and they're not just cutting them, they're trimming them. So they're taking down all the branches. And of course, that's weakening the tree, isn't it, Mark? And then we've got some evidence here of the trunk here where some of it's flaked off. Now, what's going on with that?
What's actually happened, the tree there, what we're seeing there, John, the actual tree is it's being stressed. So obviously the radiation comes in at the canopy, it then runs down the bark. When the bark gets wet, you then start to see stressing of the bark, and that's the danger. This is what you're talking about. This is the heavy cutback. These trees will die. These are listed trees. They can't chop them down, right? You need plant permission to chop these down. A guy in this street rang the council and said, "What are you doing? You've knocked £20,000 off the value of me home. Look at the state of this. It's an assault on the environment. It's an assault on the trees." And you know what they said? We don't know. The council don't know why they're doing it.
That's insane.
Well, the reason why they're doing it is because, you see, with a canopy, you'll start to see the bark break off, like the picture above, because you're getting more radiation in there, but also it affects the signals for the 3D mapping. And, if they want to target you, then it's far more difficult. Now, we're seeing the same behaviour right across the whole of the country.
And this is from the antennas on top of the LED street lights. This is what's weakening the trees. And if people see LED street lights that they've been changed to LEDs in their local area, but they don't have antennas. Well, folks, stage 2 will be when they're putting the antennas on top of the street lights. Now, some people have commented that there's two types of things happening. Some of them have long, thin antennas, and then others have small, circular sort of shaped things on top. Is there any difference between that, Mark?
Yes, the one that we have, basically, it's a target acquiring weapon system. The other systems that target acquiring. So what they can do, they can basically just see you, they can scan you. But we've actually got a sophisticated weapon system, and obviously there's 600,000 of those across the country, I believe, from the business plans. I want to take people to this picture here, John, with the police. This is a crime that's been committed on the community. The chopping down of these trees is an environmental reckless crime. The police are acquiescing to these secret government contracts, secret hidden contracts with telecoms companies in Sheffield, Gateshead, all over the country, where your MPs are sitting on their hands. There's the South China Post have asked for a public inquiry into this, and they've also asked on a freedom of information to see the contract with Sheffield Council and Amy, and they have refused. So they're using public money, taxpayers' money, to chop down your trees, to harm your environment, to pay for police officers, to police a human rights crime, to protect the criminals. I mean, this is absolutely, it's mad.
It's disgusting, isn't it? It's surprising why we haven't, done more in this country to stop this.
I think the problem is, John, people just don't believe it. This is unbelievable. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, here's more images from Gateshead. And
of course, just on the trees, the Amy, the company that's been removing them, AMEY, which you can easily look up online, they're invested in the Internet of Things and smart cities, which of course are all part of 5G, aren't they, Mark?
AME's part autonomous cars, all part of 5G, all part of smart. Smart is secret militarized armaments, residential technology. 5G's here to kill. 5 years here to kill. That's what it is. The reason why these have got to come out, the trees will protect you. They protect you from the radiation.
And they ground it, don't they, Mark? Barry was talking about this.
If I attack you with an EMP weapon, so I use this as an electromagnetic pulse weapon, and trying to eviscerate those homes, I've got serious problems by trying to kill you if those trees are in the way.
Right. And I've just got an image here about the Woodland Trust.
This is the Woodland Trust telling people that the chopping, the evisceration of the trees around the country's got nothing to do with 5G. Now, what's the Woodland Trust doing? Not only is it a deception and dishonest, why would the Woodland Trust know? As somebody told them, is one of the telecoms companies been in touch and said, by the way, if anybody asks you about we're chopping all the trees down, make sure you don't tell them the truth on our behalf. Who are these criminals?
Got it here. Hello, Graham. There is currently no truth to suggestions linking the rollout of 5G infrastructure to the felling of trees. 5G itself is not yet developed enough to be rolled out on a national level, and trials are ongoing. There are no phones on the market that can receive a 5G signal. Hold on a minute. They're talking about 5G and phones, and aren't they supposed to be, their speciality is supposed to be trees? So how do they know all this extra information?
Well, John, you just answered the obvious there. These are just
getting their orders from somewhere, aren't they?
We've got organisations, charities set up specifically, like Stag Group. Stag Group was set up specifically to deceive anybody that mentioned 5G. They were threatened, they were abused on the group. Anybody that mentioned 5G and the chopping down the trees in Sheffield, we got on it very early because we knew it was 5G. Anybody only has to do their research. Go and look at Surrey University's research. All the trees have to come out, and they're coming out so they can kill you. Now, I know people will go, that's unbelievable. The whole point of this weapon is for it to be unbelievable, so you don't believe it.
That's it, Mark. And one thing about the trees is, of course, the wet leaves interfere with the signal. And, it's going to cost the telecommunications companies that are rolling this technology out huge amounts of money. So they want all the trees down. And then, of course, once all the trees are taken down, where's our oxygen? You know, the trees are filtering out all the pollutants. You know, it's genocide. It's genocide on the trees. It's genocide on us. And what's interesting here about the Woodland Trust is this is just yet another example of corruption with the charities. And in my other video, The Truth About Extinction Rebellion, of course, I exposed the charities like the RSPB, the World Wildlife Fund. All of these charities is promoting 5G technology. They're promoting smart meters, aren't they? And you've approached a lot of these charities, haven't you, Mark? Have you had any success with that?
Absolute, they're a total shower.
Yeah.
RSPCA, no dogs. Dogs have got chips in them that act as an antenna. It increases the chance of the dog getting cancer. We've got everybody you talk to, dogs are dying of cancer, your pets are dying of cancer. It's the chipping system. The microwave radiation, it acts as an antenna and brings the radiation directly into the dog's body. So the dog's got no protection and will die.
Yeah. And I think people are shelling out all this money on charities thinking, okay, they're helping to save the world, when I think they really need to put their attention on 5G and support the 5G fight back to stop the rollout of 5G.
Yeah. People need to organize themselves and get involved, with the system. I'm going to show you this image, John. Right. This is what's called a DEW.
Okay.
Right? That's a.
And what does DEW stand for?
It's direct energy weapon. All right. That's it there. That's on the top of the light system in Gateshead. All right.
Okay. So these are inside the LED street lights.
That's inside the LED street lights. Unbelievable. I know, right?
And you've taken it apart. I've seen your video. Yeah.
This is DSAC. Right. It tells you all about, these documents are available for people to look around. I'm not making this stuff up. I'm actually warning people about this illegal, unlawful rollout of weapon systems by your friendly local council. They didn't know, we know that they didn't know, but that's not the point. They know now, and now what we've got is a massive cover up. And this is why it's so important for everybody to get on board. Watch this video, share the video, and start to take action. This isn't for Mark Steele. This isn't for John Kitson. This is for everybody to start to get involved. If you want to survive over the next 4 or 5 years, believers, get involved. Don't get involved. Well, what's going to happen is going to happen. But if you get involved now, speak to your local politicians and basically get on the front foot, go on the offensive, stop them, keep giving us the fabrication and the lie. We're sick of it. We're absolutely sick up to the back teeth of all this garbage, this nonsense. The smart city rollout will kill absolutely everything. I'm going to show you something. And what I want people is to understand what I'm talking about. Now, this on the face of it looks like, absolutely fine. But let me explain it. This is the 5G city vision. This is 5G. It's not just that antenna. It's not that direct energy weapons antenna. This is 5G. This is the 5G vision of a city. Now, what you're going to see here on the face of it, smart meters, autonomous vehicles, or everything connected, anything that can be connected is going to be connected. This is what we call IoT, part of the 5G vision.
Internet of Things.
Internet of Things. Well, that's 5G. 5G is the interconnector. All right, so you've got the interconnector 5G, which is a weapon system, but this in itself is a weapon. The densification in that city will kill all life.
And one thing people often don't get, Mark, and you pointed this out to me, is that it doesn't have to just be super high frequency. There are people saying, oh, is this 5G yet? Or are these street lamps 5G ready? 5G is riding. So when you're talking about densification, we're talking about more 2G, more 3G, more 4G. because 5G has to interact with much more of these lower frequencies that are being rolled out as well. So they're rolling out the higher frequencies, but also they're riding on top of the lower bandwidth, aren't they? Can you mention about that?
Right. The largest band for 5G is sub-gigahertz. Now, when we first brought this out,
You mean the largest coverage?
The largest coverage is sub-gig, and the reason why it's
what does sub-gig mean?
It's under 1 gigahertz.
Okay.
All right. So let's just show you the image, so then people can see it. They can do their own research. Yeah. Right. This is the latest from the European Union. All right. I want people to read it. It's really important, because it's not what you were sold. Right. Now, this document actually states quite clearly it's the final document from the EU, and on the top there it says 800-900 megahertz harmonization activity. This is the proposals from the industry for 5G. All right. If you look at the middle there, you'll see the next line is Zigbee. Zigbee's an operating platform for 5G. All right. This is all equipment that's fitted into that light. So you've got the antenna, which is 868. If you go down a little bit further, you'll see the specifics of the antenna. This is the 5G rollout, not what you've been told by the mainstream media. I'm not saying that 5G is not higher frequencies. It is, but this is the main blanket coverage. And as Alistair Phillips, and what was the other character, David Webb,
who's been kicked out of Bemry now.
Been kicked out for being a liar, for being a deceiver and a dishonest person, right? He stated, so did Phillips, that 5G was not in this bandwidth, right?
Yep.
They were total and out deceivers.
That's right. So David attended a meeting here in Totnes, and he said, oh, no, there was no 5G. And, he was acting on behalf of Bemry, apparently. And then I contacted the founder of Bemry, Ingrid Dickinson. And, anybody can contact Bemry via the website. And on the disclaimer, it states that they don't do surveys for 5G. And Ingrid was extremely furious. And David Webb's now had to leave the organization. And Ingrid said that anybody, they're welcome to contact Bemry directly. And that's what I recommend to people. Just contact Bemry directly. And I've been up to Gateshead. I've checked the antennas on the street lamps. They're giving off very strong microwaves.
It's unbelievable, John. This character, this David Webb, right? A very, very dishonest person. I gave him the opportunity. David Webb had this documentary evidence from me to show that 5G did in fact operate at 868 specifically, but also operated in the sub-gigahertz. He then came and he said he did a report on behalf of Bemry, which was, as you know, was another dishonest act, and that information was used by a lot of the industry. It was quite interesting how the industry used that information over and over again to try and discredit the 5G fight back, the 5G resistance, basically saying it wasn't 5G, we were dishonest. In fact, in point of fact, what actually happened, they were doing exactly what they were trying to say that we were, and anybody who aligned themselves to that fabrication and lie and kept it up, while we actually showed how this was, as a matter of fact, 5G, should hold their heads in shame. They're either easily deceived or actually working for the opposition. Controlled opposition. Well,
and Ingrid has received a lot of harassing emails, and Barry has been receiving harassment phone calls. And actually, Barry, Mark, I haven't told you this, but Barry was actually asked. He's received anonymous letters and phone calls not to meet you because they don't want us making progress on this. But then he chose to meet you, and we've got the interview on our channel. So if Barry thought you you were nonsense, he wouldn't have met you for the interview.
Well, exactly.
And he's been extremely supportive. So, you know.
Barry's like me. Barry knows what he's talking about. And unfortunately for these very, very dishonest people, the whole thing's threading out for them. You know, the dishonesty in and around this equipment is, it's historic. You know, I mean, you've never ever. This is a lot more dishonest than the smoking or the asbestos or anything like that. And obviously because the crime is such a much larger crime. So what we're saying to people in that indictable crime document, which people can get from the website or they can get it from you, John.
Yep.
It's time to stop. It's time to stop the lies. It's time to bring these criminals to justice.
Yep.
It's time for justice to be done. We actually have a crowd justice site. Let justice be done, though the heavens fall. People have a look at it, try and support it, but also show to people we're on the offensive. I always promised people would go on the offensive once we got everything in place. Well, now is our time. The 5G information's out there. Your MPs are talking about it. They're concerned about it. When they find out this is here to kill them and their children and has been rolled out in secret, covertly as a weapon system, believe us, and we are far too early. And while that might be a very, very unpalatable thing for a lot of people to understand, do your own research. Watch the 5G apocalypse. Believe us, that's just the small tip of the iceberg. The science and the technical data and the scientific community agree with us.
Definitely. And if anybody doesn't believe that 5G is a weapon, Barry Trower stated it's a weapon in the YouTube interview I did with him. You know, we don't have much time, folks, so I think we've really got to act.
We most certainly do, John. We most certainly do need to act. And what we need to do, but, you know, everybody's got to remember, the criminals behind this, their names are absolutely on the contracts to roll this out on top of us. I mean, we've got Theresa May, right, defying, absolutely in defiance of the intelligence agencies who have had all the documentary evidence on this. I mean, what's the point? What is the point of paying MI5 or MI6 or any other GCHQ or any of these other groups when the Prime Minister in our own capacity can actually go against their advice?
It's pretty disgraceful, isn't it?
How do you, well, I mean, how do you do that? I mean, here's the document, front page of the Telegraph.
Yep.
Theresa May defies security warnings of ministers in US to allow Kuwait to help build Britain's 5G network. Absolutely disgraceful when you take into consideration that it is a matter of fact. There's the document there to share, John.
Thanks.
This is absolutely unbelievable.
Oh, she's an absolute criminal.
Absolutely. And the people that are supporting her need to understand that their intent to harm will be with a carry on with this. And if they think they're going to win this fight, believe us, they are mistaken. The really interesting thing, they die. It kills them.
Well, that's the thing. There's a massive business case against it. There's a health case. You know, the whole economy. I can't see it continuing with all the sickness that's going to result from this, with all the deaths, and of course these are already happening in Gateshead.
The deaths are increasing all the time. We're seeing more and more sickness.
I've met your neighbours up there, and you know they've testified themselves personally to me about all the health problems and about the deaths in the area, and it's just disgusting that this isn't covered more in the mainstream media.
John, here's a picture from Bangkok. We've got people bleeding from the nose, people bleeding from the eyes.
They're blaming it on diesel, aren't they, from cars? Ridiculous.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Microwave radiation causes nosebleeds. It's called relay. It causes eye bleeds.
Oh, Yep, that's right. Yep.
In the height of the smog in London, there was lots of deaths. Yes, lots of people died, but I'll tell you now, they didn't get nosebleeds or bleeding from the eyes, or bleeding
That's
out
right.
the back end of their body and bleeding out their skin and their mouth. That's what we see with microwave radiation. It
Yep.
breaks down the cellular function, causes a thing called relay, and causes this phenomena. That's
Yep.
not diesel cars. It's
And I've
another
had I've
further.
had friends who've got smart meters in their homes, and they get the same problems: nosebleeds, bleeding from the backsides, and headaches. Same thing. People have
Well,
got to look into this.
it's absolutely unbelievable, John. I mean, we keep looking at this, and I mean, here's an even bigger potential threat, a bigger potential threat for all of us, and this is an immediate threat where we've got, nuclear power stations
Hmm.
where they can potentially break down, and the next minute we've got a serious situation here. Now, this is the concrete breaking at a nuclear power station. It's actually it's breaking down. Now, what people have to
Wow.
understand about these smart meters pulse, vibrate. So just think it's a vibration. Millions of times a second. It's energy in air. So it's pulsing millions, and you've got tens of thousands. I think the government at the last thing, they were pretty proud of having, how many was it? 10 or 15 million smart meters. So you've
Yeah.
got 15 million smart meters around the country in a city. Let's say you've got a 500,000 in a city somewhere. You're all pumping out this microwave radiation, this pulsed energy, breaking down the fabric of buildings, breaking down concrete structures, breaking down the nuclear capability. These power plants were never designed to see the fatigue from these smart meters. Never built, was never factored in. So consequently, these nuclear power stations, I mean, you've got Extinction Rebellion who
Yeah.
want more smart meters.
That's right.
Or they're not
Well,
concerned
this is
about
the
the.
problem with what's going on with the Extinction Rebellion. I think there are a lot of great people involved. They're nice people who are involved, thinking that they're doing something for the planet, they're doing something for the environment. But what they don't see is that a lot of the microwave technology, the smart meters, the LED street lights, the electric cars that are being pitched as green and low, having a low carbon footprint, this is the stuff that's going to be rolled out en masse if they have their way with having this net carbon target that's zero. I mean, we breathe out carbon dioxide.
And if,
So, you
yeah.
know, how are we to survive if we get,
Well, if
So
you take
this
all the
is,
carbon dioxide, John, out, what's going to happen? The trees are going to die. I mean,
that's right.
NASA have just carried out a very recent study where it actually shows the greening of the planet and the cooling of the planet since the increase in carbon dioxide. And the reason for that is
Mm,
because trees absolutely love it. And not only do trees love it, they put it underground.
yeah.
All of the growth of the root structure, it's all underground, it all rots, it turns into soil, you know what I mean? So when
Yeah.
people want to go and do an archaeological dig, they need to dig down a little bit. Where do you think all that soil came from? It came out of the roots. It's the carbon, it's the natural carbon capture
Hmm.
of the earth. And
That's it.
these easily deceived people believe that by choking the plants, by choking the trees of that carbon dioxide, they're going to help in some dystopian way. We're going to get more smart meters, destroy nuclear power stations, more smart meters, kill lots more people. I mean, it's unbelievable. Here's an image, John. It's a category 2 optical radiation emitter. This is the LED street light that's been rolled out on top of us. The ones in gates that didn't have a warning on, they're starting to replace them now with ones that do actually have a warning on, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And I think that's to limit their current liabilities from this radiation, this optical radiation. It's pretty dangerous. pretty dangerous. And what's really concerning about this particular technology, it can actually be changed. So where they're stating it's a category risk 2, that's not correct. That's not correct. There's the image there of the actual elements. Obviously, a category 2, if that catches your eye, that's pretty dangerous. Yeah, can't catch your eye. These are designed to catch your eye. Somebody's trying to tell me something here, that somebody's trying to harm somebody, because the precautionary principle is not being adhered to for a reason. So people have to understand there is an agenda. There is absolutely an agenda. Here's one of they've replaced, you know how we had the antenna, which obviously I've just shown you as a weapon system. Well, this is the new antenna. They're starting to replace those first target acquiring weapon systems with a target acquiring piece of equipment. Now, we've just written a Freedom of Information to Gates to try and get the data on what this is. So we've got a near £70 million worth of public money on this absolute catastrophe, because obviously Ian's been here, you've been here, you've seen the lights are on, you've seen the collapse in the bird population, you've seen the harm and the noxious substance emitting and the harm to the residents here.
Yeah,
they're having to replace it now, and the reason why they're having to replace it is because I can, as a matter of fact, show that the earlier equipment was not a control management system. It was, as a matter of fact, a weapon. So they're having to replace it. So they're running for the hills. This is the cover-up. This is the Jimmy Savile. This is the Hillsborough. But we do not have time to allow these criminals to cover up the crime. Now, I'm not saying that the people in between or know what's going on. They don't. What happened? They've bred a load of idiots. These are what's called useful idiots who just do what they're told. And what's happened? They're party to this human rights crime.
I think that term is too kind, Mark. I mean, people really need to start, instead of looking down at their smartphones, they need to start looking up and seeing these things that are being installed over them. I mean, we've got them here all over Totnes now, and a lot of people are complaining of sore eyes or dry eyes, and typical of what these things are causing. And of course, they've increased the cancer rates, haven't they?
Yeah, they increased the cancer rates. Well, here you go. Here's a bridge in Genoa, right? Now, this bridge collapsed for some inexplicable reason. What I'm going to say to people, now they'll go, well, you know, you cannot really say it's microwave radiation. Yes, I can. What I can say is, when this bridge was built, you see, you've got hundreds of thousands of properties in that area, all right? All got microwave radiation emitters. You've got to understand, you're a biological structure. So yes, it does damage you. Yes, it will increase your temperature. It increases the temperature in the city. But being a biological structure, a lot of the radiation passes through you. The more dense the material, the more potential there is for this absorption, this pulsing absorption, to cause fatigue. This is a materials fatigue. This has never been taken into consideration. When the guys designed that bridge, they didn't go, oh yeah, but by the way, we'll have 500,000 or 600,000 transmitters in a close proximity in the city, all transmitting pulse modulated microwave radiation energy vibration into these structures, these concrete and steel structures. Yeah, now what we'll do is, it hasn't been factored into the manufacture or the stress mechanics of these bridges. So we're going to see more of this. You're going to see cathedrals, historic buildings start to fail, start to collapse. This is what's going to happen. And I mean, I predicted the trees, I predicted the chopping down the trees, I predicted the death of the birds, the collapse in the flying insect population. And when we first started, in and around 2016, people were saying, well, it's not going to be. Well, guess what? This is what's happening. The evidence is absolutely damning, right? I'm going to show everybody a picture that everybody knows about, and I want people to look at it, right? Because this is coming to a city near you. Everybody knows the picture. This is Grenfell Tower.
That's right.
Right. Grenfell Tower was, as a matter of fact, a 3G, 4G fire. Now, I know that because I wasn't 100% sure till we got the reports back about the ferocity, about the breakdown of the fabric of the building, about the cladding breaking down, how it was actually bursting into flames pretty easily. So that fire, those smart meters, what actually happened at a Grenfell, one of the Grenfell pages, I'd actually put something up. Has anybody looked into the fact, these buildings, these social home buildings that are being forced on people's smart meters, you see?
Yeah.
And absolutely got trolled to death.
Yeah, we had a place blow up in Buckfastleigh actually recently, and a lady who lived nearby told me over the phone that actually the lady living there had just had a smart meter installed, and the actual meter was blown open.
Well, what actually happened in this instance, John, I put this post up because obviously I knew how dangerous these smart meters were. I knew what the smart grid was all about. So I put this post up, and at the time, it was a bit of a hypothesis. I didn't really have a great deal of evidence to go on, and I absolutely got trolled to death. I mean, I got threats, trolled to death. I thought it was quite funny. I thought, blinking heck, I've really touched on a nerve here, because one of the things about these trolls, the logics of the world, these let's say criminals, these people with criminal intent, when they start that daft trolling, right, just remember you're over the target. They're there deliberately to try and dissuade you, to bully you. Well, people can't bully me. You know my background. I'm not the easily bullied type. So I just get as good as what I get. This imagery, when I put the post up, I was absolutely trolled to death. I got threats from a person who said there were a fireman in the fire. It was absolutely appalling, me even suggesting that this could be smart meters. That's when I started doing some investigative background research into it. And obviously, I then found out that it was in fact an appliance fire. These smart meters cause appliance fires. So it had fires, and it also, the year before, the council had to pay an ex gratia payment to all of the residents of Grenfell for fires to their appliances that were caused by the smart meters. This was unbelievable. Now, I then wrote a report to the Grenfell Tower inquiry. They've got all the evidence. I didn't hear anything about it. It's because the reason why, because this was a smart meter. This was a smart fire. This is just smart. You buy smart, you stick that in your property, and believe us, not only will it damage you and your home and your pets and your family, it'll also potentially set fire to your building and kill you. And guess what? I'm not surprised that the firemen didn't find any more bodies in the fire. There was this massive number of people who were supposedly missing and disappeared.
Right.
Not a surprise. So I'm not saying there was anything untoward about what the firemen went in and didn't find the bodies. I'm not surprised they didn't find the bodies. If you fill a body full of your hydrocarbon-based element, if I fill you full of microwave radiation and set fire to you, there's not going to be much left, is there? In fact, just a bit of dust. You probably blew away down London. In fact, you can see there's a lot of smoke coming out the top of that building. That might have been some of the people.
Yeah. Wow. Just going to take another look at that. Yeah, there's been so many of these in the States, these fires caused by smart meters. People have really got to do their own research, start looking into this.
People have to really start doing their own research, John. It's appalling, what's going on. And it's only happened because people's, let's say, belief that, your government's got your best interests at heart. They wouldn't do anything like that. I mean, we hear it all the time. Well, unfortunately, what's happened in this instance, we can prove as a matter of fact, right, that everything you see is a fabrication and a facade. There is an agenda going on behind the scenes.
Yep.
And people need to wake up, and people in authority need to wake up. Police officers need to wake up and realize that there's a crime being committed here, and they need to act. I mean, absolutely appalling. You see police officers manhandling people trying to protect the environment at these tree sites, manhandling people at fracking sites where people are trying to do the honest, decent thing and protect their environment. The attack on the environment is a crime. We do not pay police officers to commit crimes.
Yep. And the councils are getting bribed, as you know, I described in my last video about Extinction Rebellion. They're getting bribed and all this money coming through. But, you know, when they've got their nice estates and they end up getting microwaved with all 5G, there's not going to be much of this money to enjoy, is there?
It'll be
because it's going to be rolled out everywhere. It's being rolled out everywhere, all across the world. And there are certain countries taking action against it. The UK yet is to take any action. And it's just because we need more people to stand up and be counted.
Well, here's a nice little image for you, John. Right, and obviously this is the first time I've shown this. This is the vehicle out. That's Gateshead Council there, and this is the vehicle where they collect the bodies. This is the funeral business that was set up specifically in Gateshead Council, right? And that's the van. That's it parked in Gateshead Council. You see on the number plate, Regent Funeral Services, the first funeral service in the country by a council to capitalise on the 5G increase in deaths. So that's it there. That's the vehicle on standby, paid for, the public purse paying for a funeral business so somebody can capitalise on the increase in the deaths in the area. And they basically said there isn't any increase. What a complete nut, a load of rubbish.
Absolutely horrendous.
Yeah. I mean, the microwaves have caused cancer of the eye. It's just unbelievable. And I mean, the street warnings, the street warnings, John, you know, they've got warnings on these lights. What about the people who are walking around? I mean, here's an image of a Gateshead street light warning. Now you see this one's got a warning on. A lot of the ones that we have haven't got a warning. I think what they're trying to do is limit the liability when everybody starts getting eye cancer. Children start getting sent, because children are playing out in these lights. If you zoom into that picture, you'll see it's got its warning on. Have you been warned you've got to wear protective eyewear on these LED street lights?
No, we haven't.
£40 million rollout of technology.
Yeah.
And you haven't been warned.
No. There's no way people are going to see these labels. You know, they're down on street level. It's just a joke.
Well, you wouldn't look up and look at that anyway, John. If that category 2 light catches your eye, that's really dangerous. Really dangerous. And that is if it's a category 2, which I dispute, by the way, because you can pulse modulate with that controller and change that pulse modulation to weaponize it. Make it a lot more dangerous than a category 2, I can tell you.
Look, Mark, it was great to have you on. One quick thing about the court case. I was there for the appeal, and councillors and police, very, very unconvincing to say the least. Backtracking on statements by the councillors. You know, the handwriting of the police officers was in they had the same handwriting. It's just a complete joke. And, you know, your neighbor, Debbie Chisholm, completely backed up everything that you were saying. She saw that you weren't shouting at the councillors, but the two councillors were stating that you were. And, of course, we heard the police tape, no shouting whatsoever. And basically, because you're an expert, Mark, they're desperate to shut you up because they don't like experts. And they're running scared.
They're running scared. Well, they will. Well, absolutely, the replacing of the lighting system tells you all you need to know. They're now starting to replace the lighting system, and they are absolutely running scared. And the reason why they're running scared is because the whole cabal is imploding. But that's what I'm saying to people. Look, nobody wants to die. Nobody wants to die. And this may sound unpalatable to a lot of people. This is real. Get involved. Get active, right? If somebody pops up outside my home with a weapon, what I'm saying to people, you have the right in law, British Constitution, etc., to act. All we have to do in this relation is act in law. Act in law, get the documents out, make sure that these people understand that they themselves and their children are at risk. The threat of that document will make them look into it. I've got no doubt that the minister in Brussels was actually sent the exact same document, right, which had been translated by somebody over there in the Sun movement, where they sent it off to the minister, and she's went back to our legal team and went, what we're going to do about this? And I've went, you're on your own. You're on your own. Because who's going to stand up in a court over the next 4 or 5 years and go, well, I was complicit in this human rights crime where millions will die. Millions will die. You know, we can't save everybody. We've got to stop this crime now. And if we don't stop it now, believe us, there's not going to be many people left.
Yeah. We've got to do our best, everybody. I just want to say a big thank you, Mark. Do you want to mention about your YouTube? You've got the YouTube channel there.
The YouTube channel was taken down by Google. I'm just going to suggest everybody share this video, share John's a great guy. Share what John's saying. You know, I mean, John and I go back to EAV9, where I explained about the existential threat of 5G. John was very receptive to the information, went did his own research. He found out that everything that I was actually commenting on in the conference was in fact correct, which once again is unbelievable. And I always say that whenever I do a talk, I'll say to people, look, don't believe a word I say. Go and do your own research. And the reason I say that is because of cognitive dissonance. People find this unbelievable. It is unbelievable.
And for me, you know, at first when I heard about it, I thought, well, is this really going on? And what did I do? I went all the way up to Gateshead to actually see for myself, to test the meters, to make sure it all checked out. And it did. They're emitting dangerous levels of microwave radiation. And then I attended to your court cases twice. And just the lies, it was outrageous. So I saw for myself and I thought, well, I've got to get the word out to others. Now, Mark's appearing at AV10. The tickets are sold out. But people can see it via the live streams, via the website, 5gawareness.com. I've got it on there. They can click on there and see Mark's talk, and there'll be other speakers as well, Deborah Tavares, and a lot on 5G. So please support Mark. Mark, what's your website? How do you find your website?
The website, we have a website called Save Us Now. Go to the website, get involved. I implore everybody to get involved, because obviously we've got a nucleus of people, we've got a growing number of people, and the numbers are growing significantly. We are very, very near to organising ourselves. We've got the Crowd Justice Fund. That's a test case to take the council to court over their outrageous activity, their unlawful, illegal activities. So that takes them to court on personal injury claims. It's the easiest way to go, and it's the easiest way to get a result, and it's an easiest way for people to get a result in relation to the criminal activities that are being perpetrated against us. The administration of noxious microwave radiation is an assault. It is a crime. The police aren't acting. The only time they're acting is when they're allowed to chop down trees. When they're doing is they're told for some corporate organisation to chop down trees and to commit crime against the people. What we need to do is we need to get organised and explain this to police officers, so they then don't get involved in this criminal activity. There is no excuse. Ignorance in law. It's no excuse.
Exactly. Right? And how do people find that letter that they can write to the councillors, the MPs? That's via your website, isn't it?
If they go to the website, they can go to info@saveusnow.org.uk. They can get involved. If they don't want to get involved, they can get the information. We're quite open. Everybody can get this information. Send it to police. Send it to police officers. A police officer came to my home, and when he was speaking to the lighting guy, there's a video of it. The lighting guy admits to him there's something going on. He said there's something in this, right? And the police officer then comes and tries to be clever with me. He's actually been told of a crime being committed and didn't act. And they didn't act because they can't believe it. They've got this cognitive dissonance. It's just so unbelievable. Well, what we've got to tell them is it's real. You've got the
Yeah.
Prime Minister of the UK, right, who's now stating that she's going to roll out what's part of a weapons system all the way from China on top of the people here. So take this video, listen to what we're saying, and take action.
Definitely.
In action, believe us, you'll lose everything.
Exactly. Thank you. Yep. Thank you so much for your time, Mark, today. I really appreciate it. Brilliant. And also, do you want to mention about the next court hearing, when that is and where it is, in case people want to come and support you?
Yeah, we're on the 9th of May. Gateshead Council, obviously, after not getting the result that they wanted in the first court case, they now take me back to a civil court to try and get me committed to prison to gag me. They couldn't get a result the first time. They're going to have another go. They've demanded to have they actually demanded to the courts that we don't get the same judge, that they get a different judge. Obviously, I don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but they get a different judge. Let's see what happens there. And they've also demanded in a letter to the solicitors, right, that they want to remove all of my 5G evidence from the court case. That's my defence. So they want my defence documents taken out of the court. We're talking about a kangaroo court here.
Yeah.
Frustrated by the local council, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I believe that the British judicial system will come through. And the reason why it'll come through is because if it doesn't, we all die. They all die. Once people understand what's going on, and there's a growing number of people in authority, MPs, House of Lords, police, there's people starting to work out what I've been talking about since 2016, 17 and 18 is in fact a matter of fact, and not what they've tried, some of the spy agencies and some of these deceivers behind the scenes saying that he's overblown, he's not, it's not correct, it's this, that and the other. I can prove, as a matter of fact, everything I'm saying is correct. It's the reason why the council want the evidence taken out of the court.
Yeah.
Because it's factual.
Exactly. And if people want to come to the court case, it's is it Newcastle Crown Court, 9th of May? About what time will it start, Mark?
It's the Crown Court, but it's Moot Hall. This is a larger event, so we need as many people there as possible. Moot Hall, it's next to the Castle Keep. Moot, M-O-O-T, Hall. It's the old Crown Courts. It's the original assizes, and it's next to the Castle Keep. So it's an old building, historical, and what we'll see some historical evidence being battered and pulled between the council and ourselves. And what people will also see is the criminality and the fraud and the corruption that's going on, and that's why we need as many people there as possible on the 9th. Really important. The British judicial system's all about the law being seen to be done. This is like the Guildford 4, the Birmingham 6. The reason why those people got a result and they got out of prison, right, is because the IRA had already admitted it wasn't them. They'd already made an admission that those were people, innocent people sitting in a prison, in a British prison, right, well, the bombers were actually, they'd already been caught for other crimes. So...
Yeah. What time can people get there?
They need to be there for about 9 o'clock. The event
in the morning. Okay.
9 in the morning. The thing will start at about 10. Need as many people there as possible. Excellent.
Thank you, Mark. And I know people can find your YouTube. You've started up a new YouTube. I think it's Anthony Steele, isn't it? ANTHONY and then space and then STEELE. So check that out, everybody.
Anthony Steele's putting the stuff out there for me. I'm still making a few videos, not as many as I was. I mean, we had a really good thing going with YouTube, and obviously Google took it down. That YouTube channel was actually Save Us Now's, a registered political party, a registered political movement, and it was taken down by a foreign actor, Google. So you've actually got foreign technology companies taking down political parties' websites because it doesn't fit with the Labour Party, the Conservative Party, or the Liberal Party's 5G rollout. It doesn't fit with their manifesto, because in their manifestos, you're getting 5G. You vote for any of those parties, you're getting 5G. Because 5G, they're aligned to Extinction Rebellion, and Extinction Rebellion, another fabrication, another fraud. They're all about lowering the CO2, killing off all the trees, introducing a smart grid, smart meters, all part of corporatocracy that's going to harm you.
Yep. And of course, it's the founders. A lot of the members just, they don't realize this information, but the founders are funded by the telecoms industries. And this is what people need to realize. And they're promoting the 5G technology through the emergency climate action plans, through, saying, okay, we need to get rid of CO2. Yeah, please look into it, everybody.
Electric cars are one of the most dangerous things to the environment. The most dangerous, believers, they're more dangerous to people, they're toxic. The tires, because obviously the extra weight, so the rubber they use, the tires, the tarmac they lift, is all more particulate contaminants in the environment. They're really dangerous. Hydrocarbons out the ground, where they're on tarmac. This is really dangerous particulate contaminants. So more people will get sick, more people. But the most dangerous thing is the mining of lithium ion, taking it out of the ground, putting it into a battery, and then where we've got a number of fires and explosions. This is absolutely lethal. This is a hazmat where you've got heavy metals there that are in cityscapes where you've had any of these fires. The toxicity levels, been a few fires in London off them, been a few fires in China, a lot of fires in America. This heavy metal material is toxic to life. The cleanup will run, it's like a dirty bomb. They were talking about dirty bombs a while ago. Well, that's what happens if you get an electric car fire. So you've got a dirty bomb issue. Nobody's talking about it. What about the first responders? What about police? What about 999 responders going to that event? They will be at significant risk of life.
Plus all the microwave radiation that the electric cars emit as well. That's a massive problem.
You've got electromagnetic radiation that they emit, and obviously anybody in and around, and especially autonomous vehicles, very, very dangerous toxic levels. You've got people sitting in the vehicle who will potentially die. It increases bowel cancer, leukemia risks, kidney cancers, prostate cancers. I mean, you've got, I have a little bit of a chuckle. I see people driving around buying these electric cars. It is absolutely unbelievable how people have been duped into buying technology that is absolutely risky.
Yeah, and if people don't understand the negative health impact of electromagnetic radiation, you can go to emfscientist.org, emfscientist.org, where hundreds of doctors around the world are petitioning and appealing to the World Health Organization and the UN. They're just not listening. Look, thank you so much, Mark, for all your time today. I think that's been extremely informative for people. And like Mark says, do your own research, folks. Really.
Excellent.
All right. Take care. Thanks a lot.
Thanks now.